People near Sigma males are sometimes confused, annoyed, or even threatened by their attitude, and they move differently, notice things that others don't, and act in ways that most people wouldn't. Without doubt, the majority of individuals play the same social games, live by the same rules, and follow the same patterns. Scientists characterize Sigma men as extremely autonomous thinkers who don't fit into traditional social structures, in contrast to alphas, who live on power, who want acceptance. Sigma individuals might be unexpected and perhaps hard to comprehend as they function completely outside of the system and aren't motivated by rank, power, or social recognition. But here's the catch. This has nothing to do with superiority. Sigma men just don't think of themselves as superior to others, and they don't follow the unwritten rules that other people take for granted. As a result, they do things that most people wouldn't even consider their strong points by nature. Despite the fact that some people see it negatively, these 7 characteristics undoubtedly explain why Sigma guys never fully fit in and why they never needed to be number 1 since they can spot fakery with ease. Have you ever had the impression that someone isn't quite right? Perhaps their eyes didn't match their smile, or perhaps their words were contrived or poorly written. No matter how little the sensation, most people dismiss it and tell themselves it doesn't exist. Sigma men are aware of it because, according to researchers, those who possess a high level of cognitive empathy are able to recognize dishonesty earlier than others. Sigma guys fall into this group because they are inherently perceptive and have a greater awareness of social signals via changes in tone and body language. Since micro-expressions are all the little details that others overlook, others may be able to tell whether someone is being dishonest by their forced politeness, inflated confidence, or concealed motivations. Have you ever seen how certain individuals speak differently depending on who is around them and how they denigrate others while flattering those who are close to them? These guys pick it up before the other person even recognizes their error because they can't unsee it once they've seen it. Sigma people know this right away, and they don't follow orders as most others do. They will distance themselves from the ACT before becoming engaged, but they won't label it overtly. This makes them difficult to manipulate and shields Sigma men from the false friendships, pointless flattery, and hidden agendas that most people fall for, even while it irritates those who rely on dishonesty. Second, they demand and provide the respect they deserve after realizing they aren't receiving it. However, they stop arguing, begging, and trying to prove themselves the moment it becomes one-sided. Because it seems awkward to leave, most individuals struggle with this and continue to remain in relationships where they always have to prove themselves, underappreciated jobs where their efforts are not rewarded, or friendships that deplete them. Scientists characterize this low level of social dependence as a characteristic of highly autonomous individuals, as opposed to those who remain because they fear social pressure or loneliness. Society pushes people to be the bigger person by persevering and making compromises, even if it's often necessary. Male Sigmas are aware of when to stop. When they feel abused, Sigma guys don't mind quitting partnerships. They just pull away and continue. They won't fight, vie for attention, or plead for approval. This is perplexing to those who are used to getting away with reckless behavior. They expect opposition, arguments, and attempts to make apologies, but these men don't provide any of it. They believe it has to do with ego or resentment, but in reality, it's about self-respect. A Sigma choose to let go and move on rather than use energy trying to mend it because they understand that once respect is gone, a relationship, business connection, or even a family bond will never be the same again. Thirdly, they disregard unnecessary rules. Have you heard of the 5-monkey experiment? It had a room with a ladder that led to 5 monkeys and a stack of bananas. Each time the monkeys attempted to ascend the ladder, they were doused with cold water, and eventually they gave up. The difficulty is that once the scientists removed the water punishment, the older monkeys continued to block the younger ones from climbing, and no one was able to determine why they just obeyed the rules. Because the norms have been in place for a long time, people accept them, which is exactly how society works. Sigma people, however, steer clear of those pitfalls. In psychology, this is known as heuristic obedience. Sigma men, on the other side, are very independent thinkers who don't need compliments from others. They won't take things at face value and will contest rules that don't make sense. Have you ever worked in an environment where people pretended to be calm or where pointless procedures caused things to go slowly? These may be overlooked by male Sigmas. In a culture where most people simply follow commands, Sigma men do something different. They think for themselves, which is something that most people find hard to do. Number 4. They are energizing to those who agree with them, and frustrating to those who expect unthinking conformity. To avoid difficulties, some individuals obey commands, but these men don't waste time on unnecessary activities. Sigma males, on the other hand, don't have to be the loudest or most noticeable. In fact, they like it when others don't notice them as much. Have you ever seen the need of certain people to always be the center of attention? They talk more, laugh more, and make sure everyone knows what they're doing. Because they prioritize substance above show and realize that real progress doesn't need constant praise or credit, Sigma guys work quietly in the background, letting their accomplishments speak for themselves rather than requiring attention from others. They are more concerned with being true to themselves and accomplishing their goals than they are with getting recognition from others. When one's work and deeds speak for themselves, it is the best kind of recognition. Most individuals desire attention because they want other people to think good of them, but these men don't need it. Another reason they often feel uncomfortable in groups who thrive on drama and constant attention is that they don't need the bustle. They realize that the best approach to stand out is to let their achievements and calm confidence speak for themselves, rather than drawing attention to themselves. Being stupid and allowing success to speak louder than the fifth word is where the true power lies. Sigma men, on the other hand, don't mind being first underestimated or underappreciated. In fact, they rather like it when others don't think highly of them. This kind of thinking works because you can observe calmly, collect your ideas, and make judgments based on what's right rather than what's required when you're not being scrubbed all the time. Do you realize how annoying it is when people expect you to perform before you've even had a chance to demonstrate your abilities? This is similar to being under continual pressure to meet the high standards set by others. Most individuals fail to see this tactical advantage. When someone is underappreciated, they may be able to move more freely without worrying about unjustified criticism. They often have the chance to show off their true value in private. Keeping things simple and uncluttered, avoiding the pressure to do too well, and using underestimation as incentive to let their activities organically surpass other people's expectations are how these guys operate. They arrive on their own terms and without having to provide any proof when the time comes. 6th. They stand by themselves without hesitation. Sigma men draw the line because they see loneliness as something to be embraced rather than something to be feared, while others may choose to settle for fleeting connections or push themselves into groups only to avoid feeling alone. Most people fear loneliness because it's in our nature to look for approval, connection, and a sense of belonging. Instead of working for the wrong firm, male Sigmas would prefer to be by themselves. Self-sufficiency bias is the capacity to feel at ease without continual social validation. Instead of depending on outside approval, they function from a place of inner security and don't need constant social interaction to feel important. They don't push relationships because they're scared that if the relationship isn't genuine, they'd prefer be alone. This isn't to suggest that they don't enjoy other people. For Sigma guys, isolation is a choice rather than a punishment since it allows them the opportunity to think, grow, and live without the weight of expectations. They really want to reach number 7 and don't waste time on fake politeness, which is why they let people in when they do. This sort of thinking confuses those who gauge their worth by their social activities or the amount of friends they have. We've all had awkward conversations when you say things you don't really mean but simply say to keep the conversation going. How is the weather right now? Have you been a pleasure to meet? These little gestures of civility may appear necessary for polite conversation, even though not all circumstances need words. Sigma men are seldom they really want to know whether you're sharing something when someone asks how you're doing because it counts. They just don't see the point in casual talk unless it's coupled with something important. As long as Ed Fillers doesn't shun people or come off as distant, most of his encounters are genuine and authentic. Because they understand that genuine relationships arise from stating what matters rather than repeating polite platitudes, Sigma guys are at ease with genuineness and quiet. According to experts, individuals often use knives to fill in the conversational gaps in order to break the ice and steer clear of uncomfortable circumstances. While others might only go through the motions, Sigma males save their energy for meaningful connections. When they do speak, these men don't spend time pretending. Instead, they deliberately choose substance over nonsense, which makes their conversations more genuine and often more fulfilling. This behavior is misunderstood as being aloof or antisocial. For further information about the Sigma personality and similar subjects, please think about subscribing to our channel if this video spoke to you. Don't forget to use the like button and share your opinions in the comments section below. Thank you for attending, and as always, keep developing and progressing.